Well, Shalom Aleichem. It is my joy to share with you the Passover season. I have never been more excited in my life about the revelations of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh Passover. The question gets to be, why keep the Passover? My answer is because I love the law. Now, according to Deuteronomy chapter 10, verses 12 through 15, it says, "And now Israel, the so-called black man, what does Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh, your God, require of you, but to fear Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, your God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, your God, with all your heart, mind, and with all your soul, to keep the commandments of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh and his statutes, which I command you this day for your good. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, your God. The earth also, with all that therein is. Only Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Yahweh, had a delight in your fathers to love them, and he chose you, their seed, after them, even you, above all people, as it is this day." In Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 32 and 33, why keep Passover? Because I love the law. You shall observe to do, therefore, as Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, your God, has commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right or to the left. You shall walk in all the ways which Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, your God, has commanded you, that you may live, and that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days in the land which you shall possess. Why keep the Passover? I love the law. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 5 through 9. Hear, O Israel, and obey, so-called black man, and you shall love Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, your God, with all thine heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them upon the posts of your houses and on your gates. To the Hebrew, this is the most important text in the Old Testament. Matthew chapter 22, verses 36 through 38 testifies, "Thou shalt love Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love your Hebrew neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Bet-Nun Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, is teaching not only the priority of belief in the one God, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, but also a means to preserve greatest tragedy in our history occurred. The proper understanding of the great commandments with their spiritual implications was no longer grasped by our fathers. Zechariah chapter 7, verses 12 through 14 testifies, yea, they made their hearts as an adamant stone, lest they should hear and obey the law of Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh. And the words which the Lord of hosts, Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, Bet Nun Sophit, Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, has sent in his spirit by the former prophets. Therefore came a great wrath from Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, Bet Nun Sophit, Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, of hosts. Therefore it has come to pass that as he cried, and your fathers would not hear, so your fathers cried, and I would not hear. But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations whom they knew not and understood not. Thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through nor returned. For they laid the pleasant land desolate. This absence of saving knowledge of salvation, the absence of the knowledge of salvation became an obvious factor in the downfall of the so-called black man, which ultimately led to the deportation of Israel and the exile of Judah, the so-called black men of America, as physical, mental, and spiritual slaves. Oh, so-called black man, do you want out of your pitiful condition? The solution is be doers of the word of Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh and not hearers only. Deceiving your own self is all you accomplish. For if any be a hearer of the word of Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgets what manner of man he was. But whosoever looketh into the perfect law, wherein is liberty, and continues therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the word of Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, this man shall be blessed in all things. Why keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 13 through 15 says, O so-called black man, scattered among all nations, thou shalt fear Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, your God, and serve your God, Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, and shalt swear by his name. You shall not go after other gods, nor any religion, gods of the people, or their religions, which are round about you, as your oppressors. For Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, your God, is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, your God, be kindled and heated up against you, and destroy you from off the face of the earth. It is clear that there is absolutely no hope for your children without their God, Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh. You and your children are tempted by Satan daily, and you are falling deeper into hell every second of the day. We have evidence of the solution when Jesus quoted part of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 13, and chapter 10, verse 20, in response to one of Satan's temptations. Matthew chapter 4, verse 10 testifies, Get thee hence, away from me, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh, your God, and Yud-Heh-Wah-Peh only shalt you serve. Get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written in the law of Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, thou shalt worship Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, your God, and him only shall you serve. In fact, it is important for you to know the early part of the book, Deuteronomy, which was spoken by Moses while our forefathers Israel was still in the period of wandering in the wilderness, formed the basis of all three of Jesus' responses to Satan. The statement, thou shalt not tempt Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, your God, found in Matthew chapter 4, verse 7, and Luke chapter 4, verse 12, comes from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. And man shall not live by bread alone is found in Matthew chapter 4, verse 4, Luke chapter 4, verse 4, and there's a quotation of Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3, and chapter 11, verse 13. This lets you know that you have a new life in New Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass, if you shall hear, obey, hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, your God, and to serve Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the feast rain, or the first rain, and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn and your wine and your oil. Why do I love the Passover? Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 15 through 20. O so-called black man, choose life. See, I have set before you this day life and good, and death and evil. In that I command you this day to love Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, your God, to walk in his ways, to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that you may live and multiply children. And Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, your God, shall bless you in the land you seek to possess. But if your heart turn away, so that you will not hear, but shall be drawn away and worship other gods and worship any kind of religion and serve them, I denounce you this day, and you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the earth. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that both you and your children may live, that you may love Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, your God, and that you may obey his voice. Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, Bethlehem, Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh, and that you may cleave unto Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh. For Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh is your life and the length of your days, that you may dwell in New Jerusalem, which Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh swear unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give to you forever as their seed. Why keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Blessed is the man whose delight is the law of Yudhe-Wave, and in his law does he meditate day and night. Will you compass him as with a shield? Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the Lord. Psalms 119, verses 12 through 16. Blessed art thou, O Yudhe-Wave. Teach me your statutes. With my lips have I declared all your judgments of your mouth. I have rejoiced in the way of your testimony, as much as in all riches. I will meditate in your precepts, and have respect unto your ways. I will delight myself in your statutes. I will not forget your word. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms 119, verse 97. Oh, how love I your law. It is my meditation all the day. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms 119, verse 27. Therefore I love your commandments above gold. Yes, above fine gold. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms 119, verse 132. Look thou upon me and be merciful unto me, as thou used to do unto those that love your name. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms 119, verse 159. Consider how I love your precepts. Quicken me, O Yudhe-Wave, according to your loving kindness. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms 119, verse 163. I hate and abhor lying, but your law do I love. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms 119, verse 165. Great peace have they which love your law, and nothing shall offend them. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Psalms chapter 122, verse 6. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love you. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Micah chapter 6, verse 8. He has showed you, O so-called black man, what is good. And what does Yudhe-Wave require of you but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God, Yudhe-Wave. John chapter 14, verse 15. The Holy Spirit will come to those who obey. If you love me, keep my commandments. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. As in John chapter 14, verse 21. You that love my commandments and keep them, you it is that love me. And you that love me shall be loved of my Father, Yudhe-Wave. And I will love you and will manifest myself to you. John chapter 14, verse 23. If you love me, you will keep my word. And my Father, Yudhe-Wave, will love you. And we will come unto you and make our abode with you. In Romans chapter 13, verse 10, love works no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Why do I keep the Passover? I love the law. I, John, chapter 5, verses 2 through 3. By this we know that we love the children of Yudhe-Waphe, when we love Yudhe-Waphe and keep his commandments. For this is the love of Yudhe-Waphe, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. 2 John chapter 1, verse 6. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as you have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. Why do I keep the Passover? Because I love the law. Revelation chapter 2, verse 4. O so-called black man, who is Israel, I have somewhat against you, because you have left your first love, the law of the Yudhe-Waphe. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. There are those who ignorantly argue that the New Testament eliminates the law. That's just an ignorant position to take. Romans chapter 3, verse 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? Yudhe-Waphe forbid. Yes, we establish the law. Now, Yudhe-Waphe represents the termination of the present course and condition of the world, and is the beginning of a new order of things. Romans chapter 10, verse 4 testifies, for Yudhe-Waphe, Bethlehem, for feet Yudhe-Waphe, is the end of the law, as the tradition of men, but the beginning of righteousness for everyone that believeth. Galatians chapter 3, verse 24, wherefore the law was your schoolmaster to bring you unto Yudhe-Waphe, Bethlehem, for feet Yudhe-Waphe, that you might be justified by faith. That is why I keep the Passover, and it is also why you should keep the Passover, is that you love the law of Yudhe-Waphe. This is our only salvation, is in loving